Good morning, and welcome to your AI Daily Press Morning Podcast for June 23, 2025. We have several developing stories to bring you up to speed on. First, in Eastern Europe, the situation between Russia and Ukraine continues to deteriorate. Reports of increased violence and diplomatic tensions have resulted in significant loss of life, displacement of civilians, and widespread destruction. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russia of preparing new military operations, which Moscow denies. The humanitarian situation is dire, with thousands caught in the crossfire or forced to flee their homes. In related news, we're also following the story of the U.S. strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. The operation, described as U.S.-led and U.S.-operated with assistance from Israel, has raised questions about its legality and justification under international law. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has backed the U.S. strike, warning of the possibility of escalation beyond the Middle East. As we monitor these situations, global leaders are urging restraint and caution, warning of the potential consequences of further escalation. The international community is holding its breath, hoping that peaceful resolutions can be found before it's too late. We'll continue to bring you updates on these developing stories throughout the day. In the meantime, our thoughts are with those affected by these conflicts. That's all for now. Thank you for tuning in to your AI Daily Press Morning Podcast. I'm Walter, and we'll see you again soon. Now, for the latest in social and cultural news, here is Barbara Waters.
Thank you, Walter. Good morning, and welcome to the AI Daily Press Morning Podcast. I'm Barbara Waters. In our special report today, we're focusing on the recent U.S. military operation against Iran's nuclear facilities, codenamed Operation Midnight Hammer. The Pentagon has confirmed that a series of airstrikes were carried out by U.S. forces, targeting key nuclear enrichment sites in Fordo, Isfahan, and Natanz. The operation involved the largest ever deployment of B-2 stealth bombers, which dropped 30,000-pound bunker-buster bombs on the Iranian facilities. According to defense officials, the mission was supported by dozens of air refueling tankers, a guided missile submarine, and fourth- and fifth-generation fighters. While the Pentagon reports that the operation was successful with no American casualties and no Iranian retaliation against U.S. military assets, the extent of the damage to Iran's nuclear program is still being assessed. The operation has sparked mixed reactions from lawmakers and experts, with some hailing it as a necessary step to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, while others express concerns about escalating tensions in the region. Former commander of U.S. Central Command, Joseph Votel, notes that U.S. planes could yet return to Iran to ensure the job was finished, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasizes that Iran needs to abandon its nuclear ambitions altogether. As protests continue around the world, calling for de-escalation and diplomacy, we will provide updates and analysis on this developing story. The situation is particularly tense for the over 30,000 U.S. soldiers stationed in the Middle East, with concerns about their safety and security. We urge all parties involved to exercise restraint and seek a peaceful resolution to the conflict. We'll continue to monitor the situation and bring you more information as it becomes available. Thank you for joining us on this morning's edition of the AI Daily Press. I'm Barbara Waters, and we'll be back with more news after this break. Now, for the latest in business and finance, here is Louis Riskweiser.
Thank you, Barbara. Firstly, tensions between the U.S., Israel, and Iran have escalated, with airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities sparking widespread concerns about a broader regional conflict. Oil prices have surged, and gold has reached near-record highs as investors seek safe haven assets. In other news, foreign portfolio investors have been selling off stocks in the fast-moving consumer goods and power sectors, with outflows of 136 crore and 143 crore, respectively. Experts attribute this trend to FPIs seeking better opportunities across sectors, particularly in rate-sensitive areas like financial services, which received inflows of 2,936 crore. Lastly, we're seeing a surge in oil prices, with Brent crude rising to over $70 a barrel, and the Nifty may move between 11,500 and 12,000 for the rest of June. Investors are advised to remain cautious and informed, keeping a close eye on developments in the Middle East and the ongoing trade tensions between the U.S. and China. That's all for now. Remember, as I always say, don't let market volatility get you down. Stay nimble and adapt to changing conditions. We'll be back with more updates after this break. Now for the latest in science and technology, here is Carl Starman.
Thank you, Lewis. Firstly, we take a look at the world of gas giants in our solar system. Researchers have made significant discoveries about the formation and structure of these majestic planets, including Saturn and Jupiter. With the help of probe missions like Juno and Cassini, scientists have gained a deeper understanding of the complex heat and composition gradients within these planets, leading to dramatic phenomena like helium rain and massive storms. In other news, commercial satellite images have revealed significant damage to Iran's Fordo nuclear site following a recent U.S. attack. While the images show severe destruction to the facility, experts warn that the long-term impact on Iran's nuclear program remains uncertain. The country may still have access to nuclear material and the ability to enrich it to weapons-grade levels, highlighting the need for caution and diplomatic efforts to prevent further conflict. Lastly, we touch on a story from earlier in the week, where we discussed the potential implications of U.S. sanctions on Iran's economy. As tensions continue to rise, it's essential to stay informed about the latest developments and their effects on global security. That's all for today's summary. Now for the latest in sports, here is Howard Closewell.
Thank you, Carl. Speaking in my iconic tone, I introduce the morning's top now for the latest in travel and human interest. Here is Charles Curel. Ciao.
Thank you, Howard. Firstly, in southeast France, a wedding party turned into a scene of unimaginable horror when masked gunmen opened fire outside a village hall, killing the bride and wounding several others. The investigation is ongoing, with local officials suspecting possible links to drug-related score settling. Secondly, we're following the story of a tragic event in the village of Gault, near Avignon, where the community is struggling to come to terms with the senseless act of violence that erupted on what was supposed to be a joyous occasion. Our thoughts are with the families and loved ones of the victims. Lastly, we're taking a journey across America to celebrate the timeless traditions and enduring legacies of 6 remarkable restaurants, recently honored as James Beard America's Classics. These iconic eateries have been feeding communities for generations, and their stories are a testament to the power of food in bringing people together. We'll be sharing more about these beloved restaurants and the sense of community that surrounds each one. That's all for now. Tune in throughout the day for more updates on these stories and other news from around the world. Thank you for joining us on the AI Daily Press Morning Podcast. Now for the latest in fashion and entertainment, here is Joan Streams.
Thank you, Charles. I'm your host, Joan. We've got a few exciting stories to dive into today. First up, we're talking about the latest news from Netflix. I recently reviewed the new series The Waterfront starring Melissa McCarthy, and I have to say, it's a must-watch. The show is all about a group of friends who start a waterfront restaurant, and it's full of laughs, tears, and everything in between. Next, we're heading into the world of reality TV with an update from Love Island USA. Casa Amor is just around the corner, folks, and things are about to get interesting. The girls will be heading to the infamous Casa, where they'll meet some new bombshells and potentially stir up some drama. Meanwhile, the guys will remain at the main villa and be greeted by some newcomers hoping to win their hearts. Last, but not least, we're celebrating the success of K-pop artist Roz, also known as Roseanne Park. Her single Apt has been on the Billboard charts for 34 weeks, tying with BTS's hit song Dynamite. We're loving the energy that K-pop is bringing to the music scene, and we can't wait to see what Roz does next. That's all for today, folks. Tune in later for more updates, and don't forget to let us know your thoughts on these stories in the comments. And as always, grow up. But this time, let's just say Roz, you go girl. Now for the latest in nature and environment, here is David at Nature.
Thank you, Joan. I'm your host, David. Today, we're bringing you a brief summary of our top stories. First up, in the world of travel and exploration, we have a fascinating article about the discovery of a hidden gem in Indonesia. Unfortunately, it seems that article isn't available to us today, so let's move on to some exciting news from the world of sports. In golf, Keegan Bradley has won the Travelers' Championship with an impressive performance, thanks in part to his strategic equipment choices. We take a closer look at the top-tier clubs and shafts that helped him claim victory. Moving on to baseball, top pitching prospect Chase Burns is set to make his major league debut with the Cincinnati Reds this week. The 21-year-old right-hander has been making waves in the minor leagues, and we're excited to see how he'll perform against the New York Yankees on Tuesday. That's all for now. Thank you for joining us on today's edition of the AI Daily Press Morning Podcast. We'll be back with more news and analysis after this break. And that completes our morning podcast for today. Thank you for listening. Until this evening, I'm David at for AI Daily Press, the world's most unbiased news source.